I'm really excited to be here with you all and be able to share with you on blended learning with EdPuzzle today. I am also a local native to Illinois. I was born in Hinsdale. I lived in the DuPage County area in Villa Park and Lombard, and now I'm located outside Northern Illinois University in Sycamore. So very familiar with the Illinois school system and really happy to be able to be supportive to you all and be a part of your success. I'm going to share my screen here briefly just to kind of give you an overview of what we'll be doing today. So not only are we going to be able to share some support and ideas and features to help you better off with blended learning and incorporating EdPuzzle into that, but we're also going to share with you some new features that are just going to support in the classroom engagement and activity overall. So without further ado, today we will be going through why you should use EdPuzzle, especially to support blended learning, all the new features, where to find that content within EdPuzzle, and specific ways to implement blended learning with EdPuzzle. If at any point in time questions do come up, I will be monitoring and regulating the chat, so feel free to ask questions as you go. I'm super excited to be doing this with you all, and let's jump right on in. So I just wanted to start off overall asking, what is EdPuzzle? Some of you may already be familiar. Some of you may have even had your own accounts created already. And some of you may just be here to be looking for another additional digital resource to support you in the classroom. So if you're asking yourself, what is EdPuzzle? Well, it's very simple. It's the ability to make any video a lesson. It starts with a video that can be pulled from other teachers, from our personal EdPuzzle Originals collection, all the way to ones that you self-generate yourself. You'll be able to embed notes and assessment questions, and we even have pre-curated videos that have those available within them. And then overall, you'll be able to track that process and engagement of each of your students individually. As we go through this presentation, I've dropped some blended learning tips in here for you to help better support. These videos coincide with any lessons you'd like to do. So right off the bat, I just kind of want to see where everybody's at and know, how do you use videos in the classroom? Do you use EdPuzzle? Do you use something else? Do you have your own way of utilizing videos? I would love to hear how you guys are utilizing this in the classroom in the chat. So I will at least give a minute or two if you guys would like to drop your answers in. So why EdPuzzle? I always like to have that why when we're utilizing a resource and knowing why we even want to put it into the classroom. Well, it's very simple, easy, and powerful. But more important than that, it's a program that you know that when you share it with your students, that they're going to be actively engaged. You're going to be able to hold them accountable and themselves accountable for whatever they're doing, whether that be answering questions, creating their own lessons, or even just interacting with the class as a whole. EdPuzzle is also going to allow you to have some diversity in that classroom. So whether that be introducing a video at the beginning or end of a class, all the way to being able to engage with hands-on activities while pairing up with a video. Overall, our main purpose of EdPuzzle is to support that individual approach to learning. And as you can see from the blended learning tips below, the response features that we allow students also give them the chance to kind of take control of their learning experience and customize how they learn by being able to give audio responses or using images or links to help better explain their answers. So when I think of these kind of things, I immediately think of blended learning, being able to not only have these individual students give their own responses and engagement with the lesson, but also being able to tailor and mark that engagement as they move through it. So one of the big things for using EdPuzzle in the classroom is being able to, again, diversify that instruction to your students. And it's going to be something that you'll notice that a spark will fly, especially when they realize that they kind of have control over their responses and the way they answer things. Now, a lot of people will ask when they're introduced to different digital resources, well, how can I use it in my class? Well, I have a way of breaking that down for you, not only to give you great steps and engagement on how to use EdPuzzle, but how to use it to its full potential. And those come with a couple different things, like the flipped classroom model, being able to send your students home with that criteria for the day and actually engaging in action with it in the classroom. Differentiated in lessons, live mode to help be engaged there in the classroom while still allowing them to utilize their devices for responses, audiobooks to listen and hold group discussions and class discussions with, and of course, project-based learning. So we're going to kind of dive into each of these points a little more specifically to provide a little more assistance in how to best use EdPuzzle in your classroom. So some of the core things we're going to go over will be the live mode, which is one of our top contenders for supporting blended learning in the classroom, student projects. Pretty much as they sound, your student will be able to take ownership of those lessons and hold pride in them by being able to present them. Our screen recording feature that allows that customized approach for each of your students and your individual classroom. And then of course, our EdPuzzle Originals, which will also help you not only conserve time, but also find different approaches that you may not have thought of yourself, and being able to pick from a wide variety of selections from other teachers, us here at EdPuzzle, or again, making your own. So I'm going to start with one of the most popular options that I feel will definitely support you with it, kind of adding in that blended learning piece within your class. So our live mode is just as it sounds. This is going to allow you as the teacher to be able to present a lesson in front of the class, just like you would for normal instruction. But your students will be individually able to answer questions on their devices. One of the best part of this is not only do you get that technical component, but still that interface between you and the student. But there's also that accountability and less distractions. When your teacher or when you're presenting there to your students, they're not going to have the option to, jump around and go to different websites and stuff. Their screen will be slightly blank. They'll be forced to look at you, who is projecting or using a whiteboard to show the assignment. And when those questions come up to base that comprehension, those questions will appear on their laptops, their Chromebooks, whatever devices that they have at that time. Again, allowing them to take on that information, but still be able to engage more privately, also building confidence in them with their responses. Some of my favorite uses of using live mode in the class is being able to present an experiment or project and having those students complete it themselves at their desks, or even ones remote at home. And then as the project continues, they're asked questions, they're asked to complete certain things or give their own opinions as they go on. Again, keeping them engaged, but also keeping them involved. Now, some ideas that are very popular for live mode, just to help support, again, that blended learning approach, would be watch or read aloud together. Not only would you be able to watch and listen to some of the stories that are in there, but then you're also going to be able to have group discussions, break people up, get different ideas, debate those ideas. Again, creating that different type of involvement. So not just being a video, but also engaging one another in the classroom. There's also the option to go on a virtual trip. As we know, due to COVID, a lot of businesses and places kind of opened up virtual tours, like the Chicago Museum of Art. They had a whole section on a virtual tour for all their art. Wouldn't it be awesome to be able to share that with a student as you all go live and watch all these different pieces of art, discuss them, and learn together as if you're actually there? Another popular one is our science host and experiment. These have to be one of the most popular with a lot of my, Illinois teachers. You're able to conduct that experiment live there in class. Each student can do it themselves, and then they're going to be asked questions, not only basing on that comprehension, but ensuring that they're understanding why each process is what it is as we work through that experiment. There are warm-ups and a close to lesson with our EdPuzzle Originals. This is great for an option just to kind of change up that day of instruction. Maybe you come in and you play a video that kind of prefaces what that lesson's going to be about today. Not only will they be watching that video and kind of engaging and gaining that background knowledge, but it allows you to set up your in-class instruction while they're watching, making sure everything's set up for you to continue forward with. And lastly, reviewing a video lesson that students complete as homework. This has to be one of the most common uses for our live mode. Being able to send that student home to complete that work and then come in and assess it as a class live that day. Again, another blended learning tip is recording experiments and conducting those experiments live in class. I can't stress how popular that is and how engaging it is for those individual students. I know you'll see it the same. Now, this is just a quick view that I like to present to my teachers so they really understand what live mode looks like. So as you can see over here, we have the teacher pulling up the lesson, setting up live mode, and she'll be able to see the full instructional portion of that lesson. Your students will get the grading portion. So anything involving questions or answers will come through that portion of the screen for them. But again, while that's being presented by the teacher, they're not going to be distracted with other things on their screen. they'll know to be prompted to answer a question when their screen presents them a question. So it's very self-explanatory, easy to use, and very easy for the student to understand as well. Now, another great new feature, which not only promotes the student's agency and ability to take ownership of that work, is our student projects. So this is a real creative way for you to kind of hand off to the student and let them become the teacher. A lot of the times, students, they love to take ownership. You know how much fun it is for them to be able to teach a class or be a part of that teaching experience. Teachers can assign their students the option of creating their own video that will then be later either shown to the class via the teacher, or you can allow the student themselves to teach the rest of the class. Again, a great way to keep everybody's attention and engage them, and also get your students excited about not just being the student anymore, but becoming the teacher. You'll notice that this feature as well is available through all the students in your class. So it's not something that you have to assign to an individual. It can be assigned to the whole class. And the teacher then can choose the videos they would like to share with the class or allow that student to share with the class. Now, some of those ideas around student projects, just to kind of expand on that teacher demonstration point, is they can analyze poems, including by meter and rhyme. There are some options there where we have teachers that will create their own poem and they'll put little missing pieces in, and then they'll have the student actually fill in what they think should go there. You could demonstrate how to solve a math problem, which is also a really popular thing with our math teachers. Being able to break down this and then allowing a student who maybe is excelling in that area to create their own video and present it to the class. What student doesn't love to learn from their other fellow students, especially because they have that same mindset and being able to predict these situations and also break down these concepts. You can record an experiment and then explain the findings and conclusion, meaning you could send your students home and have them do their own experiment, have them drop in their own instructions. And then when you come into class, maybe you can all do it together, or maybe you can watch them do that experiment together and have questions about what they've discussed. And lastly, students prepare and present their own TED Talks. This has to be one of my favorites, but you know me, I'm a talker. So with these TED Talks, this would be a great way for them to pick something they're passionate about, something they want to share with the class, and not just create that presentation, but again, present it to the class, show passion about it and ownership. This panel is for your use, and this presentation will also be available after this webinar, but this is just a breakdown of how to actually assign student projects to your students. One of the nice things about our student projects is, since all of our lessons automatically after grading go to a grade book, these ones won't automatically. So you don't have to worry about student projects being, accumulated into that grade book. Now, if you want them to be included, they absolutely can. But this is kind of just a fail-safe to make sure that your grading structure isn't infringed upon by any additional projects that maybe, weren't originally a part of your plan for grading. Now, I will be dropping in our screen recorder extension here. And what this is an embedded screen recorder that is available to you to download into your Chrome browser. This is going to allow you to kind of lose any need for any third-party kind of screen recording device. It's actually going to allow you to do your editing, any type of voiceovers, add questions, and trim down all from the comfort of within EdPuzzle. So you know it's a secure experience and it's easy to use. So as you can see here in the overview, it's just that simple. We click on that little icon up here in the browser bar. It will allow you the option to either record the entire screen, just a tab, or even use webcam for, say, showing actual physical instruction. You'll then be able to break down that video. You'll be able to embed into it, whether that be questions, notes, links, images, whatever you want that student to be able to see. Now, with the screen recording feature, as I've dropped in, we will actually go into downloading. So in this next moment, I would love it if you could all take the extension that I've dropped into the chat and take just the next 2 minutes to download it into your browser. This should take no more than a minute. It not going to require you to get past any firewalls. This is just an easy extension for you all to use to just create a better EdPuzzle experience and have some of our great editing tools included. So I'll give you guys a minute and a half to go on, click that link, and download your Chrome extension now. Great. I'm glad to see it was so easy for you all. Like I said, it was meant to be quick, and just that quick little download is really going to change the way you Edpuzzle. We'll give it just a couple more seconds here. If anybody does need additional time, please feel free to drop that into the chat. I have no problem waiting. Perfect. We'll move forward from here. Hopefully you all were able to get that downloaded into your browser. Like I said, super simple to download and very easy to use. Oh. So now that we've got that completed, this kind of brings me over to our EdPuzzle Originals. Our EdPuzzle Originals are standard aligned with all Illinois state standards. So that means we have your Common Core Math, your Next Generation Science standards, your ELA, and even your social science standards are available and aligned with our actual originals. Now, the best thing about these originals is that they already have questions embedded into them for you. So again, if you want to do a quick lesson at the beginning of class, just to kind of get that background knowledge while you're preparing your in-class lesson, these are great to use. You can look up any context or subject that you're going to need, and you're going to be able to drop it in for the class while you prepare the in-class instruction. Or maybe the opposite way. Maybe after your instruction in class, you really want to concrete that information you shared with your student and ensure that comprehension. You'd be able to grab an already pre-made video and drop it in at the end, and not only get the comprehension back, but the progress back, knowing if it's something that maybe you need to send an extra assignment home, or maybe there needs to be a little more one-on-one engagement, or maybe we need to break up into groups because everybody's at a different level. But our originals kind of help fill that time while also providing different options for you as far as video content and engaging content to share with your students. Now, some things that I really love about this is that teachers can watch students complete these lessons in real time. So say you do assign a lesson as a pre-background knowledge at the beginning of a lesson. As they complete it will let you know where you need to gauge your instruction after that. Maybe you have 5 or 6 students that, just really aren't grasping it or have no background knowledge. And then maybe you have another handful of students that are already well aware of the subject you're about to teach. This will also help you determine how to continue with your instruction, whether you need to break them up into groups to focus on certain things. Maybe there needs to be an additional review of certain content within that lesson, but it kind of helps you start that preparation for how you want to break down this lesson for your students. And again, it's offering you that option of a mixed context of presenting with a video and doing in-class instruction, or in-class instruction and kind of concreting that comprehension at the end with one of our videos. Now, as an EdPuzzle representative there for all the state of Illinois, I know how important it is to have endless content options. The more variety that you have, the more engagement you're going to get there from your students. So we want to make sure that you know how to find this content and be able to utilize it within your EdPuzzle. So as you can see here, based on the side results, we have a variety of different videos available in our Discover. Now, maybe if you're looking for something specific, you'll be able to go up to the top and specifically put that in. But maybe you don't find it. Maybe it's not in those originals, or maybe another teacher hasn't created it either. Well, this gives you that option to use that screen recorder we downloaded and customize that video for your students. Not only can you tailor it to their specific needs, but you know your class better than anybody else, so you'll know what will catch their attention. And if you need specific things in there, now you have the ability to do so. But again, this content is endless. You're being able to record and make your own videos, pull curriculum aligned content from our EdPuzzle Originals. You can view videos from other educators that have maybe already done the unit that you've done, or maybe focusing on the lesson that you've done now, but already have a bunch of videos for it. Or you'll be able to utilize YouTube. Basically be able to import and pull in and edit as you need, kind of creating a new video of your own. But with the variety of content that we have in here, we know we have enough to help diversify your instruction and also introduce a lot of new topics that maybe you were unaware of to your students. Now this here is to answer for a prize. After this, I will, send out my email, and any of you that have answered and shared what, your tips are in the classroom, I would love to send you out some totes, maybe a couple pens and even stickers. So if you guys could take the next minute or two to let me know how many blended learning tips you've collected throughout the presentation and how you plan to use those tips in the classroom. Feel free to write them down in the chat. I would love to send you some EdPuzzle swag. I'll give you guys the next minute or so, and you guys can drop your answers in, and I can't wait to read them. Excellent. Thank you all who shared in the responses. Again, after this, Matt will be sharing my email. Feel free to email me after this. Just let me know, where to send your swag to. Just put your full name on there, and we'll definitely get those out to you guys. But again, thank you for sharing. I always love to hear, how people are going to use these tips and hopefully benefit them further in the classroom. Just some basics to go over with EdPuzzle to give you that little more confidence in using it is assigning videos. So when we assign videos, not only is this going to kind of free up some class time for us, especially if we assign them for send homework or even partial classroom instruction time, but it's also important because it gives that variety there with the videos. Now, you can use EdPuzzle to replace direct instruction, or you can use it to lead instruction. There's so many different varieties when you have the ability to adjust and alter and even edit and pre-create from the ground up. Now, using EdPuzzle and assigning these videos, the best part is if you ever need to adjust or keep them for another year, you can do that. Maybe you teach multiples of the same class too, and you need to kind of adjust certain framework within there. That's the best part about these videos. You can edit them at any time and assign the same video to multiple different classes, but with different embedded questions depending upon that class and their learning retention. One of the best things about EdPuzzle, it really does support a flipped classroom approach and overall supports blended learning in general. Now, how you can assign videos is very simple. You'll be selecting a video. You'll be able to then edit it with our embedded editing tools, some of the best out there, which is you'll be able to cut at any point in time in the video, meaning you can do the beginning or the end, or you can take cuts right out of the middle. You can drop questions and notes anywhere in the video that you've edited. And that means these could be notes with embedded links. These could be notes with images. They could just be open-ended questions or multiple choice. There's a lot of variety there depending on what you feel is best for your class and gauging that comprehension. Most importantly, you can assign to your class and post them to any of your learning management systems, whether that be Google Classroom, Schoology, Canvas, and more. One of the best things that I always think is a fun concept to help keep that engagement is assigning a video before your next class. Kind of allows that student to go in and preemptively have the idea of what this lesson's going to be about before they even start that engagement. Or you can assign a video that's not due until the end of the week, or multiple assignment videos that aren't due till the end of the week, and drop them in for each of your students. Not only have you set up your work for the week, but it also allows them to kind of engage then at their own pace. Maybe you have some students that all completed in the same day, or some that wait right till the end of the week. But it allows you to also, again, gauge that real-time activity and see where your students are at. Now, some of the success that you're going to find with incorporating EdPuzzle into your blended learning is using station rotations. This includes a station for each algorithm, a file for standardized test review, provide guided practice, and assess and give feedback. Now, I have a lot of teachers and schools that love to just use this in a basic setup, whether it's EdPuzzle or not. So EdPuzzle just happens to fit in perfectly. You could utilize different stations with different EdPuzzle videos that maybe one tells them a how-to. Maybe the other one is about journal entries based off the video or the experiment they watch themselves and their hypothesis. Some of them can just be a guided overview through the actual practice session. And then, of course, as they go through these different stations and they're utilizing them for different reasons, you can also give better feedback that's broken down by these 4 categories. Or you could just include EdPuzzle in a basic station rotation, meaning maybe you have activities at different stations, but one of those stations happens to be an EdPuzzle video where not only they give their feedback or they break down or hypothesize about what the rest of this, say, either experiment or unit is going to be. But the best part is you're able to create a different interactive station for each student to engage. And you can diversify it with including EdPuzzle as one of those stations or most of those stations. Now, how do I station rotation? Now, as we've talked before, there are just some helpful tips to help you guys out in incorporating it a little more easily without much thought, and that students complete a video lesson at the beginning of class. As we've talked, that can help build that background knowledge before going in and engaging in these different other stations. You can always pull data from the video lesson that can be used to inform groups or any of needing reteaching. So this means that at the beginning of that class or in the middle, when you drop that video, you may notice that there are a few students there that maybe need a little more of a finer approach, or maybe you have a group of students that are already exceeding. Well, now you can break up, you can provide two different lesson videos, even the same video, but with different questions in it, basically gauged upon where that retention is. So if you have students exceeding, you can give them the video and you could be able to put in more, in-depth questions, something that makes them think. But maybe for your struggling learners, you keep it a little more basic and you build that foundation with the same video. That's the best part about being able to embed a lot of those questions. And again, the remaining class time can be used for processing new learning together, collaborative work, and group discussions. So again, you're able to break down, understand where your students are at, create a plan that works for them so you can use your class time to the best of your ability. These are just some concepts for you guys to think about. I'm going to leave them here in the presentation. I am not going to go over them too much just because they're self-explanatory and this presentation will be given to you. But as you can see here, this alone, you have so many options for so many different subject matters to incorporate EdPuzzle and get those different approaches there in the classroom, whether it's math and making a model and solving those problems together and breaking them down, science experiments and how-tos, and then engaging in the class itself. Assessment reviews to understand where you may need to place people, whether it's in different groups depending on that, or maybe you put some of your strongest with some of your weakest so that they can help build together. One of my favorites is introducing vocabulary. Sometimes this can be a bore for a lot of students, but a lot of teachers will take content, find those vocabulary words within them, and find fun, engaging videos to teach them and bridge that comprehension. Again, reading and hosting a book tasting prior to independent reading, getting a taste for a different variety of books that they may like, and then allowing them to select and go further with them. Creating those lit groups where they can either design their own, presentation, or they can just engage and discuss and make sure that that comprehension is there. Now, I would love to know if you guys have any other ideas that you can think of. So feel free to share in the chat. I'll give it just a minute. No worries if you don't, but it just leaves those ideas open for you guys to share and kind of learn from each other as well. So I'll give you a minute to do just that. Now, this is some additional inspiration for your classes. So as we go through, I understand that sometimes, you get presented with a lot of different options, but sometimes they all, may not work for you. So we understand that. And we actually have our own panel here that I'm going to drop into the chat here that will also support you in being able to find different ideas and different ways to implement EdPuzzle, whether that means different unique station rotations, as you can see, different support for projects in EdPuzzle, places to go for different virtual field trip, even escape rooms that you can do with your students there in class. How much fun is that? But we have a variety of different content in these panels that I'm going to share with you that you'll be able to kind of engage on your own. You'll be able to go through and generate new ideas, or maybe even help you inspire new ideas of your own to create. So I'll drop that into the panel here real quick. And again, all this information will be available on these slide decks that will be presented after. But for now, I am dropping our Padlet into the chat, so feel free to explore as well as we move forward. Wonderful. So I do always like to leave the end of these sessions just open to any questions that I can answer, or maybe any feedback that you had on today's session. So I'll at least leave it open for the next minute or two. Feel free to drop your questions into the chat. I would love to answer them for you or provide any assistance I can for your further success.
This is Jeannie Long, and I just have a question. So it sounds like EdPuzzle is used for editing videos and creating videos, but there's no storing of videos in EdPuzzle. Is that correct?
Actually, you can store videos in EdPuzzle. You'll have your own My Content section. So when you do decide to, say, grab a video from YouTube or another teacher, or even generate your own, they'll all end up in My Content section. So you'll be able to go into your content, see all the videos that you've saved or edited, and you can even re-edit them or, delete the ones that you don't want and add new ones. So you can store your videos.
And how is the privacy setting on that with regards to if you're creating videos and students are in the videos?
Well, we do have the option to set your videos to private. So that is covered for you. Now you can make them public. And when you make them public, that means when people are searching around in Discovery that they can grab those videos. But like you said, if you have students in them, when you go to create, you'll just mark it as private. And that way only the people you assign it to and yourself will be able to view them.
Thank you.
Of course, great question. So as I mentioned before, we are going to make sure that this slide deck is available to you all, and all the embedded links that you would need to just be successful with EdPuzzle will be available, and a lot of the links that I've spoken about in today will also be available in here. So there is a Getting Started playlist, which I highly recommend watching. It just kind of gets you through the basics of EdPuzzle, how to set up an account, what it looks like, and how to navigate it. We do have PD training courses available. These training courses are wonderful. They're obviously, set up through EdPuzzle, so there are questions in them as well that you'll have to answer. But at the end, as long as you've completed them, you'll get a certificate and badge as well, if you would like those. And then we do have the resource and webinar section as well for additional support and help. The originals that I've mentioned today also have a link. So if you'd like to learn more about them, you could click on that link, watch our videos about what EdPuzzle Originals are about and how to use them in the class. We do have our support contacts up here at the front too. So if you're having any issues or technical issues, or maybe you're just curious about EdPuzzle further, you could always reach out to our support with those issues. And if you haven't already, I highly suggest joining our Twitter page. Not only do we do our own live streams on how to best use EdPuzzle, but we also do live streams about how to, overcome any challenges that are very present there in the classroom, whether that be figuring out what the best apps to use or security or how to implement videos better into the classroom. And then lastly, of course, that Chrome link that I had you guys download. Just in case anybody wasn't able to download that extension today, it is available in the slide presentation for you. I do want to say, though, that if you guys have any additional questions or you need somebody to walk you through or somebody just to bounce some ideas off of in general, I am here for you. You are always welcome to email or call me. Like I said, I'm an Illinois native myself, so if any of you would like to meet up and discuss in person, I would love to do so as well. No pressure, but it is an available option for you all.